Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Abby, and joining me today is my wonderful co-host Ashley, and we are thrilled to have you join us to dive into Tolkien's incredible world and bring you the magic and the lore and the insights that make Middle-earth so captivating. So whether you are a Tolkien expert or just starting on your journey, this podcast is for you.
This season, we're exploring the Unfinished Tales, a collection of hidden gems and stories that expand the world that we all love. If you've read it before, like me, stick with us. We might uncover something you missed or reveal connections you hadn't noticed before.
Or if you're new to these tales like me, that's awesome, fantastic. Together we will learn about every tale and what makes each one special.
So whether you are on the go or relaxing in your own little hobbit hole, join us for an epic journey through the Unfinished Tales. Let's go!
How are you?
I'm good. I got my outline done on the day that I planned to get my outline done. And then early. And then we were able to record on a day that I set aside usually to record. I mean,
it's a Christmas miracle.
It is. So
it's a November 8th miracle.
I'm also feeling very patriotic because I just went to a Veterans Day assembly and I got all of the red, white, and blue scarf, handkerchief things waved, and Lizzie was so cute waving it around and singing her little heart out. So I'm feeling all of that Veterans Day spirit.
Ashley shared a video with me of them and they were singing a song about red, white, and blue. I guess that's all I really heard of the song.
Right.
And little sections of the children had red scarves and blue scarves and white scarves. And Lizzie was proudly just wagging that scarf around.
It was
so
pretty
proud.
Cute.
So proud.
It's funny though, you don't say Happy Veterans Day. It's one of those holidays that Happy Memorial Day. It's just one of those you don't really. It's not a happy thing.
What do you say? Observing Veterans Day to you, sir. Observing Veterans Day to you, ma'am. I said happy again. Observance of Veterans Day to all who observe.
Yeah, I hope you I hope you remember someone special today on Veterans Day. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's still really weird.
It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky holiday. Yeah. How are you? Have you recovered from your birthday ordeal?
My birthday?
You were sore after that birthday party?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. I do have exciting news, though. Personal exciting news. It was
You're moving to Washington.
No, I wish. That'd be so fun. Anyway. Yeah. So on our way home from Washington, when we went and got to see you and Lizzie, we were driving the car and we left kind of late.
Did a rock hit your windshield?
No. So we were kind of trying to keep the kids not bored in the car because it's a 4.5 hour drive home.
Right.
And we were I was okay, it's time. And I opened the app on my phone and I found the Andy Serkis narration of The Hobbit.
Oh, and you went for it. You pulled out them big guns.
And we started listening to The Hobbit as a family, which is a first for us because my kids are still kind of young, so I feel like it kind of would go over their heads a little bit when they were littler. So we were starting it, and the whole car ride, they were so quiet. They were whoa. They were listening to it, and then I would pause every few minutes, and I'd be do you have any questions? Do you know what's going on? Do you understand? And they were loving it. And Andy Serkis, amazing voice work
National
for
treasure.
The Reading of the Hobbit. He does the other Tolkien works as well. He does The Silmarillion and The Lord of the Rings, and it's so good. Except he can kind of mumble a little bit. My kids are what? And I'm exactly, guys. That's how I feel sometimes. Hey, turn it up. Quit mumbling, you whippersnapper. Pronunciate what you're going to say. So we were listening to it, and our rule in our house is you have to read, if there is a book, you have to read the book before you can watch the movie. So my kids have never seen any Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, anything, because we haven't read the books yet. I'm a mean mom. Okay? I know.
No, but you're doing it right.
So I was telling the kids, I'm like, what's exciting about reading The Hobbit and the Hobbit movies is that they did 3 movies that like really spread out the Hobbit book. So where we are in the book right now, we can actually watch the first Hobbit movie. Like we can watch it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got to that point, and so like I think it was like 2 Sundays ago, I like set everybody down, and I got everybody like snacks and blankets, and I like, okay, it's time, everyone. We're watching The Hobbit. And I like turned it on, and I legit, like my husband looked at me, he's like, are you crying? And I'm like, stop it. This is a special moment in my timeline as a mother. I'm enjoying this. Oh my gosh. It was so like, like showing my children a piece of my heart of like this. I love this story so much. Here, you guys enjoy it. And they were like enraptured like the whole time. They're like, whoa. And then like Luna, it was that scene where like it was kind of hard because they kind of jumped a little bit in the first movie, like Galadriel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And when they do that shot of like Galadriel like turning around,
oh yeah,
like so beautiful. Angel. But she like turned around, and my kids were like like they were like and then Luna's like, she is the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, that's right, Luna. She is. She goes, that's what I want to be for Halloween. I'm like, okay. And I was like, I don't know how that can work, but okay.
We'll make it happen.
No, but it felt, I was like, oh. So now we ended that one, and then we have to keep reading, and then we can go on to the next ones. But I'm doing it. I finally introduced my children to Tolkien. Like they knew what Tolkien was, and they understood like they can spot things that are Tolkien, but they've never like read the books or watched the movies yet.
Right.
Because I'm like, I didn't want it to just go over their heads and they think it's boring and they don't know what's going on, and then they don't want.
Right. You wanted them to appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we waited a little bit. My kids are 10, 8, and 3. So Oakley's like, huh? Like,
yeah.
What?
Oh my gosh. Please make him Gollum for Halloween somehow. Just like make his.
No, he needs to be a hobbit because he's the shortest, and then Luna needs to be a dwarf, of course, because she's that size. And then Fox needs to be. He could be an elf. He could be an elf. And then Colt needs to be like Gandalf.
Yes. And then what would you be?
Elrond. Duh. I love him so much. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that special.
You have to cut your hair to be the Elrond you love.
I love all Elronds. Even the, what's his name? Hugo Weaving Elrond. He's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Especially in the Hobbit movies where he's like, I love how they kept like the cheekiness of him. He's like, come on, guys. Dwarves.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I'm just trying to help you guys. You don't need to be sassy with me. Let's go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, it's happening. It's happening. And they loved it. And I was like, so excited. So exciting times.
I'll get there one day. She's seen the stuff because, like, on my birthday, it's like kind of tradition that I get to watch whatever I want to watch, and they all know that that's what I would want to watch. And so she's seen some of the movies, but and she's played the Lego Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit with me a few times. But so she's starting to get it. But I think at her age, she kind of needs the visual then to make the book make more sense to her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I had to pause the book a lot and be like, do you know what's going on? And I kind of had to like explain things a little bit, like, because also,
now, did you get which hood everyone wore? Because that was very important to Tolkien.
There will be a test. There will be a test.
And there were no hoods in the movie, okay?
Yeah, I know. But anyway.
Well, I think Dwalin has a hood or something, but anyway, yeah.
Who's your favorite dwarf? Who's your favorite dwarf?
Oh, Keely.
Keely is great, but oh my gosh, Balin. I can't.
Yeah,
Solid.
he's pretty cute.
He's cute. And Ori? Is it? No. Biffer?
Ori's the youngest
No,
one.
Biffer. Biffer?
Biffer's the one with the axe head in his head.
Which is the one with the hat that has like flaps on it?
I
I thought it was Biffer.
Is that Boffer? Boffer.
Bomber.
Bomber's Lizzie's favorite because she likes watching him run.
That's a good reason.
Yes. One of my favorite scenes is when the youngest one, I think it's Ori. I get them confused. When they're like supposed to, when they're supposed to give up their weapons, and he like throws his slingshot down like defiantly. That's one of the best scenes.
I have a friend whose husband looks just like that guy. I mean, not with that crazy haircut, but he looks just like him. So it's really funny to see him because we're like, hey, it's our friend. Anyway, speaking of Tolkien,
how much do you remember of last week?
I remember that he became an outlaw. He was a bad boy. He decided to join, and we learned more of the outlaws in this version, I remember, because I remember in the Silmarillion, they're like, they're the outlaws. They live in the forest, and they're bad guys. And then when you think about it, when they explain it a little bit more in this story, that the outlaws are like, they're the women and men of Middle Earth are like having a rough go of it right now because they have like no land to really call their own, because like the Easterlings and everybody is like killing them or like taking their stuff or just taking their land or just kind of like not leaving them in a good spot. And so they're kind of like these destitute, kind of like very survival mode. Like they just don't have a lot of what is it called? Wealth of, stuff or land or whatever. So they're kind of like this kind of sad, humble, kind of like what we see in the Rings of Power. They're just kind of like they're kind of just scraping by, and
they're surviving. They're not thriving.
Yeah, they have like kind of farms, but not really. They're just like kind of just suffering and not doing great. And the outlaw guys are like the lowest of low because they're even being awful to their like fellow men, brothers and sisters.
Right.
And they're like, okay, well, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like the mentality of like when there's really bad, like, I don't want to say like in cities or, when they're just like really poor cities or really poor areas and anywhere, and then there's gangs that pop up that like even worse, and they like treat the people who are already suffering they like treat them badly as well, and they like try to steal from them or demand that they pay them things, like they owe them things, which I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But they're called the Wolfmen, these bad guys, and they live in the forest. I don't know where they live and what forest they live in. What forest do they live in?
Brethel.
Brethel. And they're like, what is it called? I said they were like the pirate crew from Pirates of the Caribbean. They're just like, they're not strong. They're not smart. They're just like these like gross, kind of like dirty, gangly, like I think of like human rats, like how a rat would be if he was a human. Like,
okay,
give me all the things. I'm gonna steal all the things. Or like I like just like these really kind of just sneaky bad guys.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But they met Turin, and they were like, we're like, you think you're so tough, boy? We got like 50 surrounding you. And they're like trying to be like, haha, we're gonna kill you. And he's like, I want to do that. And then he like killed a guy with a rock to the face, which is crazy. And then they're like, well, we're not going to mess with you, actually. If you want to join us, there's an opening. Hey, look, there's a free opening to join our group. One just opened up. Can you believe that? And so he like goes and joins their group, and they're like, cool, we got like a good fighter in our group now. Nothing can stop us. And then they go and they like do all these things. But I feel like Turin didn't really like, he like lived with them, but he didn't participate in their extracurricular activities that they like to participate in. Like,
right. It's always like, it reminds me of like the movies where they like that one guy in the group because he doesn't smoke cigarettes, and like he's going to give you all the cigarettes because he's the one, like, he's the best guy ever. He's so nice. Like he'll always give me his stuff because he doesn't want it. Like a weirdo. Isn't that so weird? So him not participating is like very cool in the fact that it means more for them. But he doesn't ever try and stop them because he wants to live.
So I feel like he's just there to be like a part of something and not be fully on his own. But he's like, there's safety. I don't think he's turning a blind eye to it, but he kind of is turning a blind eye to all their shenanigans. But and then I think there was a point where like he realized what exactly was going on, and then he's like, oh, actually, I don't like this. Like, I don't like what you guys are doing. And he like kill one of them or kill.
So he's wandering, he's daydreaming in the woods, and this lady comes tearing out of the woods, like running for her life, and Turin just immediately kills the next thing that comes through the bushes. But I'm like, what if it was like her friend or something that was also running? What were you? I don't know.
Retiring.
But it happens to be their leader, Forweg, who's been chasing this woman, and I'm sure doing unsavory things that we're not going to go into details about. But he kills the leader, and then the next guy comes up and he's like, oh, you killed... Okay, so you're going to take her then? And Turin's like, heck no, she can go back home. But yeah, we're not doing this anymore. This is made it real.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like he kind of turned a blind eye, like, oh, they came back with all these stolen or borrowed things.
Yeah.
Wait, you just found these in the woods? Easy.
Yeah. So this decision to either make me your leader now that I killed the previous one, or let me go. And they're like, well, it's not really cool to kill the captain, dude, but, you know, I guess none of us can really take you in a fight, so I guess we'll let you take charge, and hopefully you will lead them to a better life. Like, there's a bit of a glimpse of the men of Dorloman rallying together to take back their homeland, but then they're like, wait a minute. There's only like 50 of us here. We can't do that. Let's go back to doing something more realistic. So that's kind of where we ended things. Like, can we get this ragtaggle, rough and tumble group into something resembling a decent, army or folk of Dorloman? We'll find out next week.
Yeah. So they're easy. Okay. So he's still with them at the end, right? He didn't run off.
No.
Okay.
Nope. He's been voted the leader. Last episode, we got to hear more about what was going on from Turin's point of view, but now we're going to shift back to hearing things from Beleg's and the people of Doriath's point of view. So after the epic court session where Turin was cleared of all the charges, Beleg volunteered to find Turin, let him know he wasn't banished or in trouble, because, obviously he wasn't at the hearing, so he doesn't know that, his sentence was cleared. So Beleg wasn't the only one who went after Turin, however. King Thingol. Turin, are you in there? Are you coming in? I think you're stuck on mute.
Oh, yeah. Oh, buddy. Oh, okay. He's gone. Oh, now he's gone.
So actually, King Thingol sent many messengers to try and find Turin. And after a year of searching, none of the messengers could find him. And by the time winter came, they gave up and went back to Thingol empty-handed.
It's like he didn't want to be found.
So weird. What? Beleg, however, did not return because, Turin's his buddy. He's not about to give up on his buddy. But with Turin and Beleg not being on the front lines anymore on the north border, they're going to find that is going to have some major consequences. The orcs, that they were kind of blocking their pass, because remember there was like a pass of Anak that they were guarding. There was little slip through the mountains. That basically stopped the orcs from going further south. And that's what their main job is to keep that north border, make sure the orcs don't get past the pass of Anak. But since Beleg and Turin aren't there anymore, they, quote, increased ever in numbers and in daring.
Oh, they're like, guys, the big scary ones aren't there anymore. Let's go.
Yeah. Pretty much. So, things are getting a little worse, but then winter comes and, winter is different in this kind of land. It's harsher. You don't just, they didn't have heated jackets. They didn't have snowmobiles. So they had to take a little break. But by the time spring comes, the orcs hit the north of Doriath hard. And that pass or gap that Turin and Beleg were guarding just completely fell apart without the threat of the dragon helm of Dorloman and his sidekick, the strongbow. So if you look at the map that I have on the outline here.
Okay.
Okay. So you see Dorthonian at the top.
Wait, let me scroll. Okay.
It's not too far down. Okay. All right, and you see that little thing between that big mountain that has Gondolin in it and Erid Gorgoroth? That little pass in there?
So Gondolin is up at the top, and then it's surrounded by mountains, and then there's another mountain pass, but there's a little opening between them.
Yes. So that was the pass that they were guarding. So if you're orcs and you go through that, you have two choices from here. You can go southeast to Doriath, which they're probably not going to do because they're probably going to even have better guards and also the Girdle of Melians there. So the next option is to go to, you see that place, Dimbar?
It's in between, it's like a little inlet between the Forest of Brethel and the Forest of Neldoreth.
Right. So
above Doriath. Now, well, it is in Doriath, right? Well, that part's not.
Yeah, I would say so. It's they can't get to the Forest of Brethel without going through Dimbar. Oh my gosh, Dimbar first.
All right.
Right. So the first place that gets overrun after they get through the pass is Dimbar, and the Forest of Brethel is obviously next along the orcs' path. Quote, the men of Brethel were afraid, for evil roamed now upon all their borders, save in the south. So the orcs are starting to threaten this area. Now, we are caught up to where we left Turin. He's been gone from Doriath for almost a year now. Beleg is the only one left trying to find him. Quote, with ever-lessening hope.
Oh.
Now, it doesn't say where Beleg had been looking for Turin across the time span of a year, but hearing the news about the flood of orcs coming to the north of the Forest of Brethel, he goes there, and he happens to come across a home of one of the woodsmen of that area. And at that home, he hears an interesting story.
Ooh.
Quote, A tall and lordly man, or an elf warrior, some said, had appeared in the woods and had slain one of the Gwareith. Remember, the Gwareith were the wolfmen, the outlaw gang, and rescued the daughter of Larnak, whom they were pursuing. Very proud he was, said Larnak's daughter to Beleg, with bright eyes that scarcely deigned to look at me. Yet he called the wolfmen his fellows, and would not slay another that stood by, and knew his name. Nathan, he called him. Can you read this riddle? Asked Larnak of the elf. So, a tall man, or elf warrior, in the woods, killed one of the wolfmen that was pursuing his daughter through the woods. And this proud man, elf warrior, did not act anything like a wolf man.
He didn't
eyes. Beautiful eyes. But the beautiful eyes wouldn't even look at the girl. I mean, rude, first of all. Like, I feel like she's a little offended. Like, that's scarcely deigned to look at me. And look at me, I am gorgeous. Like, but he's like, but he also didn't kill the other guy. And they seemed like friends, and like they like left together. Like, what? I don't understand. Yeah, so confused. But Beleg tells him, like, oh my gosh, this riddle of a man is just the sort of thing I've been looking for. This proud elf warrior guy must be Turin. Now, he doesn't tell the woodmen Turin's name, but he did warn them that, you know, orcs are heading this way, that they should flee deeper into the forest of Brethel while they still could. Okay.
What is that quote from Emperor's New Groove where they're like, what does she look like again? When he's like trying to talk about
Scared beyond all reason.
Yeah, that's it.
Is it scary?
She's not crunk. That's like, well, did he look super sad and that no one understood him and that he has trauma no one else can sympathize with? Yeah, pretty much. That's him.
That'd totally be him. So Beleg is excited at last of the news of Hurin. So he hurries to try and find him. But Turin was several days ahead of him and was moving quickly because, remember, the whole thing with the girl had just happened with the captain, and he's like, maybe they thought that they were going to be after them, you know, because the interaction with the girl and everything. So they had to run away quickly before the alarm went or something. So Turin escapes this area in all speed. Quote, and he used all the arts that he knew to defeat or mislead any that tried to follow them. Seldom did they remain 2 nights in one camp, and they left little trace of their going or staying.
So
he's tricksy.
Hey, he learned a lot. Maybe he learned a lot from that lady elf.
Maybe. Yeah. So Beleg tries his best to follow their trail based on the signs that he could read or the rumor of men that he would come across. And at times he would get so close only to find their lair deserted. Because remember, the wolfmen were diligent even before Turin came around. And they always had scouts around and they always had a watch around them. So at the first sign of trouble or someone coming, they would just bolt for it. So this cat and mouse game kept up for so long that Beleg starts to get frustrated, saying, quote, alas, too well did I teach this child of men craft in wood and field. An elvish band almost one might think this to be. But they, for their part, became aware that they were trailed by some tireless pursuer whom they could not see, and yet could not shake off, and they grew uneasy.
The wolfmen?
Yes. So, like, someone is following us, and he is not giving up. He just won't go away.
A silent shadow.
Yes. So, in the meantime...
It reminds
go ahead.
Do you remember that old Chris Farley movie, Beverly Hills Ninja, where he's like trying to do all these things, but then his actual ninja brother is like in the shadows, like following him, like doing everything for him? That's what it's giving, because it's like, I know, I can find you, but I have to pick up all this mess first and try to figure everything out. Like, that's the thing I'm getting from it. But so they kind of have a feeling someone's after them.
Yes. In the meantime, the orcs had made their way from Dimbar and had crossed the river, entering the forest of Brethel. Now, many of the families of the woodsmen had escaped from here because of Beleg's advice, but the armed men chose to stay and fight. And sadly, they either ended up dying or as captives.
Sad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Quote,
they probably were like starving and like didn't have a lot of muscle mass.
Right. But also that left a lot of their homes and lands empty. So, quote, the orcs passed on to the homesteads and sacked them and burned them. Then at once they turned back westwards, seeking the road, for they wished now to return north as swiftly as they could with their booty and their captives. Remember, north is where they're from, Angband, north. But the scouts of the outlaws were soon aware of them, and though they cared little enough for the captives, the plunder of the woodsmen aroused their greed. So instead of fighting with the woodsmen, they instead see the aftermath of the orcs pillaging as an opportunity for them to steal all that rounded up booty. They did all the work for us. And we didn't even have to steal we're not technically stealing from men this way. We're stealing from orcs. See, loophole.
The worst loophole.
Yes. Now, Turin doesn't like this. And I'm going to hope that he didn't like the morality of it. But what he said to his men was that he didn't think it was a good idea to try and attack this orc pack without knowing the size of the pack. Very logical. But the outlaws, they don't want to listen to logic. They're like, these orcs have stuff that we need more. We want it more. So, plus, Torrent, you're getting kind of to be boring. We used to do all this cool outlaw stuff, and now you have us hiding and seeking and hiding and seeking. And I haven't pillaged a house in 3 days, and I miss it.
I'm kidding.
My sneaking skills are going to waste.
What is it for my sage? I want them all.
Yes.
Come on.
The saber-toothed tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, who's Jack Black, by the way, if you didn't know that.
Oh, sure. I also think of Guardians of the Galaxy when they're talking to the Nova Patrol or whatever. They're like, but what if someone has something that I want? That's stealing. That's a crime. But I want it more.
Yeah.
still a crime. Oh, weird.
Oh, dang it.
So, to compromise with his men, Turin takes one of the outlaws with him. His name's Orleg. Random guy he gets a name, but that's about all he gets. So they're going to go together and spy on the orcs to get an idea on their numbers. And while he's gone, he's going to put Androg in charge. Androg, the woman killer who had the interaction, quote unquote, with the old captain and the woman, and where they were chasing, but Turin let him live because of
standing. Obviously, no, gross.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, but Turin is sure to leave strict instructions with Androg. He says, "Stay close together and stay well hidden until we get back." So Turin and his buddy Orleg go off to spy on the orcs, and it's a good thing he did because their orc pack was way bigger than their band of outlaws. So, Good on Turin. But the orcs were in an area that they didn't come to very often. Remember, they hadn't probably gone this far south in who knows how long because they were being held back for years and years by the North Guard of Doriath. So they're in an area that they don't know very well. And they have scouts everywhere because they just don't know what to expect. And this is why, unfortunately, Turin and his buddy are discovered very quickly. Usually they're stupider than this, but I guess they were actually smart for once.
Yeah.
So Turin kills two of the three scouts that found them, but the third one just books it, and he starts crying in alarm to his orc friends saying, "Golug, Golug!" Now, apparently, that was the name that orcs used for Noldor elves, which, actually not accurate, sir. But with this alarm going off, the orcs immediately scatter and they start searching for Turin and Orleg. Now, Turin, this is a bit of a pickle. You know, he doesn't want to lead the orc pack back to his gang of outlaws. So what he's going to do instead is he goes, why don't I lead them this way? And you know what? There's actually Noldor elves this way, because to the west is actually a settlement. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called Nargothrond. R.I.P. Finrod. I know. So he tries leading them west that way, thinking that they'll be spooked by the threat of the Nargothrond elves coming after them.
It's giving, like, I don't know. It's very much like, here, clean up my mess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do the work. I'll just have other people do the work. He's Tom Sawyering it. He's Tom Sawyer.
Quote, the pursuit came. He is very Tom Sawyer. Yeah, I could see it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work quite like that. Quote, the pursuit came swiftly after them until, turn and dodge as they would, they were driven at last out of the forest, and then they were espied or seen. And as they sought to cross the road, Orleg was shot down by many arrows. See, we didn't get to know him very long. Sorry, Orleg.
Not Orleg, the beloved orc character Orleg. Not them. Everyone's favorite.
Page time was so short. I know, so short. But Turin was saved by his elven mail and escaped alone into the wilds beyond. So good thing he had that elven mail.
You think he even felt bad that guy died?
Nope. And by speed and craft, he eluded his enemies, fleeing far into lands that were strange to him. Then the orcs, fearing that the elves of Nargothrond might be aroused, slew their captives and made haste away into the north.
Oh, jeez.
So not only did he get Orleg killed, but he got the captives killed. So good going, Turin.
It's like
so the orcs are
in Rings of Power where that elf is like cheeky and like like what is his name? What's the elf's name in Rings of Power?
Oh my gosh, it is gone from my brain.
Anyway, where he's like in that camp,
bubble butt guy. Yeah.
When he's in that camp and he's like being mean to the leader, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and then he like kills all his elf friends. And you're like, "Oh, yeah, whoops."
I took it back. Yeah.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. So now we're back to where the outlaws have been waiting for Turin and Orleg to come back, and they've been gone for 3 days at this point.
Arondir.
They're starting. Arondir, thank you. And they are starting to get antsy. And so they're like, please, can we just move on? I'm getting so bored. And Androg, the guy left in charge, he actually argues against leaving. And let's not defy Turin's orders. He wants to stay put. Now, whether that's in some strange loyalty to Turin or for some other, maybe he's lazy, I don't know. But in the midst of all of this argument, all of a sudden, quote, a gray figure stood before them. Beleg had found them at last. He came forward with no weapon in his hands and held the palms turned towards them. But they leapt up in fear, and Androg, coming behind, cast a noose over him and drew it so that it pinioned his arms.
So wait, he caught who? He caught Turin?
Androg, Beleg.
He caught Androg in a net.
No.
No.
So they all freak out seeing Beleg come, being in their presence, and Androg comes behind him and basically butterfly nets him
around. I thought Beleg had a leg up on them.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, because Beleg's coming in peace. He's like, I have no weapon. I have my hands out. Like, I'm come in peace. And then Androg's like, I don't believe you, blah. And
so he's got a noose around him right now, but Turin's not there, right?
Right. Turin and Orleg's dead at this point. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So Beleg says, quote, if you do not wish for guests, you should keep better watch. Why do you welcome me thus? I come as a friend and seek only a friend. Nathan, I hear you call him.
How were we saying before so it didn't sound like Nathan? Nathan.
So another random outlaw guy, I'm not going to give him a name because there's too many names in this already. And he says, he's not here, but unless you have long spied on us, how know you that name? It's not the brightest in the
What
group,
song
obviously.
did I sing you for your birthday last year?
Yeah. Androg is much smarter, and he's like, duh, stupid outlaw guy. He has long spied on us. This is the shadow that had dogged us. Now perhaps we shall learn his true purpose.
So he knows that he's with them and that he's like, I just want to talk to him. And then this guy is like,
His trust issues.
I just feel like Beleg he's like a better sneaky guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like he
was like, trying so hard to come not as a threat.
I know, but I feel like,
yeah,
like anything he could have done, those guys are so dumb that they're like,
yeah.
He means to kill us. He's one of them pointy ears. He's gonna kill us.
Pretty much, actually.
How'd you get this address? Who told you?
So in my mind, Androg makes Beleg a cup of tea and gets him a blanket, and he has, Beleg sit nicely down by the fire so he can ask him nicely and politely, why are you following us? What are you doing out here, sir? Can I get you a pillow? Can I get you a biscuit? That didn't happen. That's not the way it happened. They actually tie Beleg's hands and feet to a tree outside of the cave that they had been hiding in, and then they start questioning him. But Beleg will only respond to their questions with one response. He says, quote, a friend I have been to this Nathan. I can't say it. I have to think really hard when I say it, and it sounds super weird every time I say it. I'm sorry. Since I first met him in the woods, and he was then but a child. I seek him only in love and to bring him good tidings.
He's just like, he's giving, to me, can I say, it's the relationship of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. And so he's giving very much he's giving Obi-Wan Kenobi vibes to me. I just want to figure things out. Can I just find my friend? It's he's Obi-Wan Kenobi in my heart. Do you feel that way?
I can see that. I can see it.
And Beleg or Turin is Anakin, but when he's
from the show Obi-Wan is what you're talking about.
Yeah, but no, when Anakin's I'm mad at everything.
Oh, you're talking 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So Androg apparently doesn't have a heart or a soul. I mean, hearing this, and he just...
Are we surprised?
We're not surprised, but it hurts mine, okay? Because I have one. And he says, quote, let us slay him and be rid of his spying. This guy came to you in peace. No weapons drawn. No nothing. You are being mean to him. And he just wants to talk to Turin. That's all he's asking. And Androg even starts eyeing Beleg's cool bow because Androg apparently is an archer too, and he's like, that's a nice shiny bow right there. I'd like to try it on myself.
I'm gonna take that bow.
Yeah. But luckily for Beleg, there were some outlaws with at least a tiny bit of heart and soul left in them. One in particular, Algund. Remember, he was the old guy that deserted from the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. He says, quote, the captain may return yet, and then you will rue it if he learns that he has been robbed at once of a friend and of good tidings.
So, do you think he's acting cool, but do you think he's also a little I could take all these guys if I wanted? Or is he saying I'm a little outnumbered right now?
Probably outnumbered, to be honest. And if he does try to fight them, he's way too outnumbered.
Yeah, because he's a good fighter. We know that.
Yeah,
but
right.
You can't fight by yourself that many people.
Right. But this little glimpse into Algund, it makes me wonder about his story, his backstory the most. Like, sure, deserting is a bad thing, but maybe he was just scared at the battle. Algund, he was the guy who joined the outlaws because he was a deserter from the Battle of a Number of Tears.
Maybe his family kicked him out.
Maybe.
Maybe
I don't think
he could go back home.
I wonder if he was truly evil at heart, or if he's kind of like Turin in a way. It was just kind of, safety in numbers. At least I'm, accepted here.
Oh man, now it makes me sad. Is he gonna die?
Well, I don't know about that, but Androg, the jerkface, will hear none of it. He says, quote, I do not believe the tale of this elf. He is a spy of the king of Doriath. But if he has indeed any tidings, he shall tell them to us, and we shall judge if they give us reason to let him live. Why would the king of Doriath spy on you guys? Like, what?
Don't think that highly of yourself.
Yeah. And also, like, the message is that Turin was cleared of the charges, basically. That news is going to mean nothing to Androg. What news could Beleg tell him that would be like, actually, the war is over? Like, what news? I have news of a mine of gold that is just for the taking. What news could he tell that would actually appease Androg? The
once a year Bath and Body Works sale is happening right now.
It is actually 7-Eleven. You get a free slushie today. That was my news. So all Beleg says.
He's kind of nervous right now, I feel.
Yeah. He says, I shall await for your captain. Huh? I shall wait for your captain.
Parlay.
Yeah. And I can just imagine Beleg's face, just like so disappointed and sad for this cruel man. Like I know for a fact that Beleg feels pity towards this guy. Like,
which is like the biggest, like, make someone angrier, I feel. Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, you didn't get enough hugs when you were younger, huh? Like,
yes. Very much so. Because, I mean, I literally think that's what happened.
He never said he loved you.
Well, what Androg says in response is, you shall stand there until you speak. Then, at the egging of Androg, they left Beleg tied to the tree without food or water, and they sat near, eating and drinking. But he said no more to them.
Jeez. Okay, so when Turin comes back, he better...
these canned beans sure taste so good. This water that has worms in it. So refreshing.
Yeah. And all the other bandits are like, sir, no, it's not. Shut up, Travis.
So... when 2 days and nights had passed in this way, they became angry and fearful, and were eager to be gone, and most were now ready to slay the elf.
Oh, man, for what? For what?
Well, at this point, Turin has been gone for 5 days. These outlaws just want to move on. I'm sure they think he's dead, and they don't want to have to bring a prisoner along. They can't just let him go, because... all their secrets. Oh no. So yeah, they apparently are thinking they have to kill him.
Because, well, also they're probably like, ooh, and then we can rob him of all his cool stuff.
Right. Quote, as night drew down, they were all gathered about him. And Olrad, don't worry about Olrad, not important enough to remember his name, but just that was who they decided to give this one job to.
Not favorite.
Brought a brand from the little fire that was lit in the cave mouth.
Oh no.
Now, immediately I thought of brand like a, metal, it has like a symbol that you put in a fire and then you brand onto someone. No, apparently also a brand could be like a piece of burning wood, burning or smoldering wood.
Oh.
So
right.
Obviously, their plan isn't like, okay, we'll just kill him very quickly, quick, painless death, if it involves a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Picture painted? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
quote, but at that moment, thank goodness, Turin returned, coming silently as was his custom. He stood in the shadows beyond the ring of men, and he saw the haggard face of Beleg in the light of the brand. Then he was stricken as with a shaft, and as if at the sudden melting of a frost, tears long unshed filled his eyes.
His friend.
He sprang out and ran to the tree. Beleg, Beleg, he cried, how have you come hither, and why do you stand so? At once he cut the bonds from his friend, and Beleg fell forward into his arms.
Aww. Beleg didn't deserve all that.
I know. So Turin gets an account of what had happened from his men since he left, and he is immediately furious and heartbroken at how his friend was treated. But the first thing he wants to do is take care of Beleg first. Doesn't like reprimand or yell at the men. He just wants to take care of him first, and he tries to, heal him, wrap him up in whatever way he can. And all the while Turin is, taking care of him, he becomes angry at himself. If Beleg was a complete stranger and he had come back and he had seen the outlaws, with this complete stranger, he would have allowed him to be killed in the past. And he actually done so on many occasions. So, yeah, he's having a conscious
crisis of conscience.
Yes, that word. And apparently he's even thinking back, like, yeah, I even talked bad about King Thingol and the Grey Elves, in the past, probably trying to separate himself from them as if they were his enemies, so that he could, bond with the outlaws and seem cool, I'm sure. But, he's like, yeah, Beleg was my friend and I talked bad about him. So he has this, crisis of conscience, as you said. And he's finishes with Beleg, and he turns on his men with nothing but bitterness in his eyes. And he says, quote, you were cruel, and cruel without need. Never until now have we tormented a prisoner, but to such orc work, such a life as we led has brought us. Lawless and fruitless all our deeds have been, serving only ourselves and feeding hate in our hearts.
Oh, he mad. He
mad. But also, cruel without need is an interesting aspect here. When is cruel necessary? Like, is this the gray area that he put himself in when he stripped Cyrus of his clothes and chased him through the woods? Like, that was cruel, but necessary.
Maybe he's growing up.
Maybe. And Androg, of course, has something to say. The epitome of the ultimate outlaw when he says, quote, whom shall we serve if not ourselves? Whom shall we love when all hate us?
He definitely didn't get hugged enough as a child.
I literally said, oh man, this guy needs a hug. And a therapy session. Now, here is where, I get what Turin's trying to do, but I'm not sure I would have done it this way, knowing my audience, because he gets a little self-righteous here, and he says, quote, at least my hands shall not again be raised against elves or men. Angband has servants enough. If others will not take this vow with me, I will walk alone.
Whoa. You get it.
I can just see Androg just glaring at him like, you think you're better than me? You think you're better than me?
Yes, many are.
Yeah. So I'm a little surprised that Androg didn't just kill him right there.
Yeah.
But Beleg, all of a sudden recovered enough to talk, says, quote, not alone. Like, I just found you, young man. You aren't going anywhere without me. You know how long it took me to find you?
You're holding my hand for the rest of this trip.
So now that Beleg is revived a bit from being tied to a tree with nothing to eat or drink for 2 days, Beleg can finally give Turin his news from Doriath. He's so excited.
He's like, I have a letter. Hold on, let me find it.
It's around here somewhere. It's like
he's on his glasses.
Hagrid when he's trying to find the key in his coat pockets. Quote, now at least I can tell my tidings. You are no outlaw, and Nathan is a name unfit. Such fault as as was found in you is pardoned. For a year you have been sought to recall you honor and to the service of the king. The dragon helm has been missed too long.
Did he present it to him? Wait, does he have the dragon helm? Who has the dragon helm?
I'm assuming he took it with him.
Okay.
But you think that'd be a bit too showy, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Maybe he's hiding it away. Maybe he just hasn't pulled it out yet.
Yeah. But I could just see Androg being like, I told you guys this guy was a poser. He ain't no outlaw. He just said he was.
He's some prissy prince.
Yeah. But instead of Turin being happy at the news, shocking, Turin, quote, sat long in silence, for at Beleg's words, a shadow fell upon him again.
It's giving that scene in Lion King where she's like, you're the king now.
Oh.
And he's like, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you. You're the king now. Never mind. I'm mad now.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And poor Beleg, he must have been so confused. Especially when Turin says, quote, let this night pass, then I will choose. However it goes, we must leave this lair tomorrow, for not all who seek us wish us well. So Turin just wants to sleep on it.
Dude, your buddy just looked for you. He just literally said that he looked for you for a year. And then you're like,
I'll think about it.
Never mind.
Like, was life so bad in Doriath for him? Like, really? I mean,
compared to what he's doing right now.
Yeah, Cyros was a jerk, but I mean, at least he's gone now, and he didn't really see him that much anyway. Yeah.
And showers.
Yeah, and was fighting for a noble cause. But at the words of not everyone looking for them, wishing them well, Androg pipes in basically saying, like, yeah, no one wishes as well. And then he glares at Beleg, thinking that he's still still the enemy here.
Oh, he's a very troubled man.
He is. I was like, how very dare he? So they all sleep on it, and morning comes, and Beleg has healed quickly from his ordeal. He is an elf after all. And he decides to have a much-needed talk with Turin. And he says, quote, surely you will return now to Doriath. And he begged Turin to do this in all ways that he could. But the more he urged it, the more Turin hung back.
Turin.
Like, what bribes do you think he used? Like, I will only make you shower once a month if you come back with me. I will get you a new sword. I will get you a puppy. I will.
I will make your favorite meal every day for a month.
Yes. Interestingly enough, Turin actually just wants to talk about the trial and was actually very surprised to hear that Moblung had stood with Turin as his friend. But the question Beleg has for Turin about the trial is, quote, why, Turin, did you not speak to him, meaning Moblung, of Cyrus's assault upon you? All otherwise might things have gone. And, he said, looking at the men sprawled near the mouth of the cave, you might have held your helm still high and not fallen to this.
Oh, burn.
Mm-hmm.
And then the leader guy is like, he's dying.
Yeah. Like, so not only, like, I wonder how much Turin witnessed, or at least didn't stop from happening during his time with the Outlaws. And I wonder if Beleg, like, is wondering that too. Like, it's not only that they're, like, living in, a cave. That's not, I don't think Beleg would really have a problem with that. It's more like the things that they've been doing. That's what they've fallen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Turin actually gets really defensive of his outlaw friend, saying, quote, that may be, if fall you call it. Like, you don't see this as falling, Turin?
I never get the trope. Of, like, having such a nice life and then, like, leaving it because you think you're not worthy. But everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's like, I can never go back there. It's like,
yeah.
What?
It's
Why?
about, yeah. Okay, brace yourselves, because this quote further nails that in harder. So, as to telling Moblung the truth about Cyrus's attack, because, yeah, why didn't Turin say anything as they were standing there looking down at Cyrus's dead body. He could have said, Moblung, he attacked first. What was I supposed to do? He didn't say anything. Quote, words stuck in my throat. There was reproof in his eyes, Moblung's eyes, without question asked of me, for a deed I had not done. My man's heart was proud, as the elf king said, and so it still is, Beleg Cuthalion. Not yet will it suffer me to go back to Menegroth and bear looks of pity and pardon, as for a wayward boy amended. I should give pardon, not receive it. And I am a boy no longer, but a man according to my kind, and a hard man by my fate.
Do you think Beleg's eyes just twitching? He's like,
You idiot! Let that smack, the Batman thing with Robin, the smacking. I want to do that. So Moblung looked at him with reproof in his eyes, and he didn't even ask what had happened. For a deed I had not done. Well, you kind of did a little bit of it, Turin, to be honest. So I think, I mean, unless you explained yourself, which you didn't, he was led to his own conclusions. His fault or your fault there, Turin?
Like the Beleg's
Yeah.
I can't
I know. And whose pardon is he expecting to get? I should give pardon, not receive it. Whose pardon is he expecting to give? Like, to Moblung for assuming, I mean, pretty correctly what happened? For Thingol for even having, like, should he not have had the courtroom thing at all? Like, I don't understand who he's expecting to get an apology from.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thus concluding the fact that he's his frontal lobe has not fully developed and he is still a teenager and he's not thinking correctly.
Not a man grown, as he's saying.
Yes.
But Beleg, you know, he loves Turin. He doesn't want him to have a hard life. He just wants best for him. And he asks, so what are you going to do with your life then? And Turin remembers Moblung's parting words of not farewell, but fare free. And in a sense, Turin does feel some semblance of freedom among men of his own kind that maybe he didn't have among the elves of Doriath, and he doesn't want to leave them now. Quote, the grace of Thingol will not stretch to receive these companions of my fall, I think, but I will not part with them now, if they do not wish to part with me. I love them in my way, even the worst a little. They are of my own kind, and there is some good in each that might grow. I think that they will stand by me.
They don't make me take a shower every day. They let me eat. They don't make me eat my vegetables. Like,
yeah,
I get to stay up as long as I want.
But like, they were about to revolt on you like a second ago. Like, maybe this is more wishful thinking than anything. Like, yeah. I think I can change him. Ugh. I can change Androg.
Gross.
I can save him. I know. Yeah. But Beleg replies, quote, you see with other eyes than mine. If you try to wean them from evil, they will fail you. I doubt them, and one most of all. That Androg guy is a piece of work. But Turin is still getting very defensive, and he says, quote, how shall an elf judge of men? Like, what do you know, Beleg? You're an elf. You don't know what men are like. To men, I mean, if you knew men as well as you knew elves, you would know that these guys are, like, actually pretty cool. I mean, you just don't know a lot of men. So, yeah.
This is frustrating me. Like, yeah. Just as a bystander.
Mm-hmm. Quote, so this is Beleg. As he judges all deeds, by whomsoever done. Like, you judge by their deeds, not by their being men or elves or whatever. But he said no more, and did not speak of Androg's malice, to which his evil handling had been chiefly due. For perceiving Turin's mood, he feared to be disbelieved and to hurt their old friendship, driving Turin back to his evil ways. Great. So he doesn't even explain, like, so that guy that you have such faith in, that he's going to turn his life around, he was the one that led me to be tied to a tree, that led me to be, you know, persecuted and, you know, tortured for 2 days. But if he tells him that, then he's scared that Beleg won't believe him. Poor Beleg.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yes. He says, quote, "Fare free, you say, Turin, my friend. What is your meaning? Like, how is this freedom? Living like this doesn't look at all free to me."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, Turin says, quote, "I would lead my own men and make war in my own way. But in this, at least, my heart is changed. I repent every stroke save those dealt against the enemy of men and elves. And above all else, I would have you beside me. Stay with me."
Dude, you can't say all those things and be like, you just
Oh, will you stay? Yeah.
hang out.
Yeah. So he's actually going to start helping the cause of men instead of trying to gain advantage from it. Like, how well is that going to go over with the outlaws?
Buddy is not using his whole brain.
Yeah. But at Turin's invitation to stay, Beleg says, quote, "If I stayed beside you, love would lead me, not wisdom. My heart warns me that we should return to Doriath."
Oh.
Like, let's go home. They probably need us there. But Turin, like a stubborn toddler.
And these guys kind of smell really bad, and I just can't handle it right now.
Yeah.
You know, my nose works way more than yours, so.
But Turin, like a stubborn toddler, says, quote, "Nonetheless, I will not go there." Like, I don't want to go to Doriath.
Oh my gosh. I'd be like, you are going to Doriath? I do not want to hear any more about it. Like,
by the ear, take him all the way to Doriath.
Yeah.
Quote, "Then Beleg strove once more to persuade him to return to the service of King Thingol, saying that there was great need of his strength and valor in the north marches of Doriath. And he spoke to him of the new inroads of the orcs coming down into Dimbar out of Tar Nafuin by the pass of Anak." Like, think of all those orcs we could be killing, man. And no one can kill orcs like you, Turin.
Orcs.
Yeah.
We can do that again.
But all his words were of no avail, and at last he said, "A hard man you have called yourself, Turin. Hard you are, and stubborn. Now the turn is mine. If you wish indeed to have the strongbow beside you, look for me in Dimbar, for thither I shall return."
Dude, I would be so PO'd if I worked so hard for over a year to find this dude who turned out to be a Turin. Yeah.
Like, I love you, buddy, but I'm needed elsewhere more from people who actually deserve my help, so I'm going to go do that.
Oh my gosh, I would be so like, you know what? Fine. Fine. You can stay here with these stinking men. It'd be gross.
Quote, "Then Turin sat in silence and strove with his pride, which would not let him turn back, and he brooded on the years that lay behind him. But coming suddenly out of his thought, he said to Beleg, 'The elf maiden whom you named, I owe her well for her timely witness, yet I cannot recall her. Why did she watch my ways? He doesn't even remember her.'"
No, you jerk.
Yeah. Then Beleg looked strangely at him with a... Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
That's his face, I'm assuming. "Why indeed," he said. "Turin, have you lived always with your heart and half your mind far away? You walked with Nellis in the woods of Doriath when you were a boy." Like, ungrateful child. And Turin says, "That was long ago. Or so my childhood now seems, and a mist is over it, save only the memory of my father's house in Dorloman. But why should I have walked with an elf maiden?"
You're right on the left, Daddy. I'm going to come through those pages, and I'm going to punch you.
And Beleg says, "To learn what she could teach, maybe? Alas, child of men, there are other griefs in Middle Earth than yours, and wounds made by no weapons. Indeed, I begin to think that elves and men should not meet or meddle." Hallelujah! Can I get a witness?
Amen.
You said it.
Amen.
Yeah. Turin said nothing, but looked long in Beleg's face, as if he would read it in the read in it the riddle of his words. But Nellis of Doriath never saw him again, and his shadow passed from her.
Oh, what an ungrateful little turden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually where I'm going to leave you today. Do you need
With
to go do
anger?
some like rage cleaning?
Yes.
Do you want to go do some dishes or something?
I gotta go watch something.
Yeah. I mean, we were frustrated with Turin in the Silmarillion, but man, the ungrateful.
Do you think Tolkien knew somebody like this in real life?
Maybe. I mean, I can only think of the Inklings. That's the only ones I can think of. Or not the Inklings. The what was the other one before that one? The Tea Society,
like
whatever
acronym or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks.
Those the movie the group that the movie is based off of. Like I can think of that maybe a little bit because they were like kind of more rich than him and they were kind of, squandered their, weren't super grateful for their money or whatever. But to this point, I don't know.
Yeah. What a little... Look what you did, you little jerk.
Yeah. Well,
now
thank you for joining us.
Well, now I'm just going to be huffing in the corner like...
Well, Abby comes down. Be sure to follow us at Sister the Shire Podcast on Instagram. Yeah. We will share fun posts.
He was...
Do you need a pillow to scream into? Huge thank you to our patrons, Dan, our ever loyal dwarf friend the Shire, and Chrishane and Tom, our legendary elf friends the Shire. You three truly make our fellowship complete. We really appreciate it. Yes. If you'd like to join the adventure, head over to Patreon at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast for just $3 a month. Just $3. You can become an elf friend, or $7 if you're feeling generous. You could become a dwarf friend, or if you really, really like us and want to make our day, $9. That's nothing. That's less than Netflix. That's less than Disney Plus. You'll join us as one of our men and or women friends of the Shire. Your support helps keeps these stories alive. It helps us cover our costs of the programs that we have to use, that we pay for to do this podcast. And so we really appreciate it. If our tales bring a bit of Middle Earth magic to your day and you can't give us a contribution through our Patreon, please feel free to give us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback is like finding a hidden stash of lembas. It fuels us up to keep it going and connect with even more fans across the land.
Yes, it's true.
So true. World news. Oh my gosh. I don't know what happened in like the last week. So many things happened. Okay. Ireland went from 10th to 7th.
What?
It is now in the top 7.
What?
Israel was 12th. It is now 9th. Nice. Sweden got knocked down. So Israel overtook Sweden. Sweden was 9th, but Israel overtook it. Brazil was 7th, but got knocked down. So Ireland, Norway, Israel, Sweden, and Austria all overtook Brazil. Are you going to take that, Brazil? You got
Come on.
A lot of those ones you could take. You could take them. The Philippines, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this. I'm not sure who did this, but there are 2 Netherlands on our country's board. I'm not sure how that happened. There's Netherlands and then there's the Netherlands. So somehow the Philippines overtook the Netherlands. Puerto Rico overtook, oh my gosh, Nigeria, Vietnam, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Guernsey, Algeria, Luxembourg, and Turkey. It went from 55th to 46th. It just went bam, 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 bam.
Thank you, person or people who were listening in Puerto Rico.
All right. Well, that's all I have for you today.
I'm still mad. I'm still pacing over here. Thank you for teaching me.
Thank you for getting mad, you mean?
Yes, thank you for giving me
You're
something to fuel anger into. I'm gonna go clean. It's gonna be spotless.
Okay,
I'm
you
just
go
kidding.
clean. I'm going to go clean too.
Well,
Until next week, I've been Ashley.
and I've been Abby. And hey, don't be a Turin and treat your friends with respect out
Don't
there,
be
okay?
a turden. Oh my gosh, he's even a burden turden.
Oh, jeez. Ah, come on. Your friends love you. Be nice to your friends. And I've been Abby, and this has been the Sisters of the Shire Podcast, and we're so glad that you joined us today, and we hope that you can join us next time. Bye!
Bye.
Thank you for teaching me a day.